Hi everyone, welcome to Traveling Misknits. My name is Pia and I am so happy that you're joining me here in Denmark today for a little chat about my crochet and my knitting. This week I have both to show. I have two finished objects. One is crochet, the other is knitting. The format of this week's video is going to be just a little bit different. I'm going to try something new because I have discovered that I really enjoy talking about my makes in real time, so to speak. So when something interesting is going on, I like to talk about it right away rather than waiting until once a week to sit down and talk through everything that happened that particular week. So I don't know how this is going to work. I will be sending you back in time. I don't know. We'll try it and please let me know what you think about this format. I'm curious to see how this is going to work out. But yeah, I do have two finished objects. None of them are my cat number 8 that I started for the Knitathon. I had grand plans to finish the thing so quickly. That did not happen. But I am going to say this for the last time. Peter, my darling, my sweetheart, I love you. I need you to go away. This time, probably you can just skip ahead. Sure, if you're skipping ahead, you're going to reach the next chapter of the video. So please do that. Are you all gone? Because obviously I finished the second sock for Peter. His birthday is coming up very, very soon. So I wanted to dedicate some time to finish sock number 2. And they're just so cozy and so big. He has big feet. What I did with these, because Peter has, I think it's called instep, this. He has a very tall instep. I did some special things that I don't do on my own socks to make sure that I accommodate for that. I cast on with a tubular cast on because that is so stretchy. So I cast on in a contrasting color with a tubular cast on. Then I knit a couple of rounds of 1x1 ribbing before going into the 2x2 ribbing that is the main part of the sock. I like how it looks with just a little bit of a cuff on a sock that is knit in ribbing all the way through. That's just my thing. I put in a sweet tomato heel. I did modify it just a little bit. The sweet tomato heel, as far as I can tell, this is a free pattern. It's an instruction that you can find in a video here on YouTube. I am gonna link that video below because this heel is really good if you need just a little bit more fabric than what a typical short row heel is gonna give you. And it is very easy and fast to work. I have made this heel for Peter before and I find that it actually fits his feet better than traditional heel flap and gusset, which is what I would use otherwise to make sure that I have sufficient depth for his heel and his foot. The sweet tomato heel is constructed as 3 wedges, so to speak. I did it a little bit differently. Usually for a sweet tomato heel, you will work the heel over 2/3 of the stitches. I did a little less than 2/3 of the stitches. You then have 3 wedges where you will do short rows down until you have 12 stitches in the middle that hasn't been turned. I did one wedge with turns until I had 12 stitches. Then I did one with turns until I had 20 stitches, and the third one I did 12 stitches again. So this is a little bit smaller than the usual sweet tomato heel would be, but it's roomy. There's going to be loads of fabric for his feet. I feel confident that this sock is going to fit him. I will say that the traditional sweet tomato heel does provide a ton of fabric around the heel, so you may want to just experiment with it a little bit to find out what fits the foot that you're knitting for. They are DK weight socks. I have 60 stitches, which is a lot for a DK weight sock, but again, big feet. Also, I am knitting them on needles size 2.25, teeny tiny needle for DK weight, but I am such a loose knitter. So I want to accommodate for that by going way down in needle size. Under the foot, I have plain stockinette stitch, just because I think that is just more comfortable for him to work on. And then I have a Kitchenet toe. No special things about the toe. So yeah, I have two. I don't have sock blockers his size. I don't even know that they built them this size. I just cut a piece of cardboard to be able to show you the socks. Of course, I can't block them on cardboard. That would become messy. But I wanted to be able to show them to you. They don't look like much. Even though I actually have blocked these, I did that yesterday. But still, they're ribbed socks. They're not gonna be presentable. So my homemade sock blogger will have to do for that. I'm really excited to give these to him. I hope that they will fit him as well as I am imagining. This sock blogger is made from one of his old socks. I kind of measured against the sock. I tried the sock on it after, and the sock fits the sock blogger. So now we shall see. I am really optimistic about these socks. For my crochet finished object, I am gonna send you back in time, a couple of days, back to the cabin in the days right after the Knitathon. Welcome to the cabin. It is really early. It is still dark out, but I think we're gonna have another beautiful day. I was just taking Misa out before enjoying some early morning knitting time, and it seems really mild and nice out. I am, of course, knitting on my cat number 8, but what I wanted to show you is how beautiful my corner to corner blanket looks down here. And then I wanted to show you this pillow. This is the Sunburst pillow by Mallory Kroll. She's the genius designer behind the Summer Fade Hexie blanket. That was my advent blanket last year. This is a free pattern on her blog. And as soon as I saw it, I was thinking of pillows for the cabin. Actually, we had planned to go down here Tuesday last week so that we would have some days down here before the Knitathon and then do the entire Knitathon here. But yeah, I was sick. Probably the flu that was going around in my grandchildren's preschool. I wasn't feeling well. I had fever and everything just hurt. So we decided to stay home, but then we came down here on Saturday night during the Knitathon, we just jumped in the car and went down here. And I had brought, because I had started this pillow, so I had brought 2 squares and a third one that I had just started. And then on Sunday, after the Knitathon, there was no more knitting in me. I was all knit out. But there was still some crochet in me. So I ended up crocheting the remaining squares for this pillow and putting it together on Sunday. It's really easy. You work 9 of these sunburst squares and then you stitch them or crochet them together. You just crochet a simple crochet around all the edges. You crochet them together into one big square and then you fold the square in on itself like this to form a gorgeous pillow. As I said, this is a free pattern on her blog and I am of course gonna link it in the description box below. This is not, as you can see, it's not a huge pillow. I think she recommends Woolies Thick and Quick, which would make a larger pillow. I used some, it's a drops yarn, and it's the one that's twice the thickness of their air. I think it's called Drops Wish. So I used that. I used 2.5 balls, something like that. And then I used a hook size 9, so this goes fast. It just flew off the hook. And I was thrilled to be making something beautiful for my lovely cabin. That means oh so much to me. Other than finishing up those 2 projects, I have dedicated almost all of my knitting time to the cat number 8. And yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed. I thought I would have gotten further, but I didn't. And it's fine. I enjoy the process of this knit. If you didn't watch the Knitathon, I'm just going to talk about it briefly. It is the pattern that I created for the Knitathon, the cat number 8. And you can see it is a top-down raglan sweater with some really interesting sleeves. Ribbed fitted sleeves with this pattern of wrapped stitches and bubbles and cables running down the top of the sleeve. The yarn is some yarn that I rescued from an old project many years ago. I bought some yarn in my favorite yarn shop in Italy, in Milan. I don't remember the fiber content, but I will say, after working with this yarn, I'm pretty sure that it has alpaca content and that it has silk content. It is a smooth, soft yarn, and I'm guessing silk because I dyed this yarn. And it took the dye so beautifully that only silk will. It was originally a natural brown. I'm pretty sure it was undyed, like a medium brown. I used it to knit up a cardigan. That just didn't work. I knit the body and one sleeve and I was just, no, this is not working. So I just tossed it away in a pile of things that didn't work. But then I decided to rescue the yarn, to unravel the thing. And after I did that, I skeined it up rather than ball it up. And then I dumped it in a dye pot with bright, like obnoxiously bright teal color. And I did that because I thought, okay, I'm going to give it this teal as the base layer, and then I'm going to add more layers to it. But the color that came out, it's going to blow out if I go too close to the camera. When I'm holding it here, it is very true to color. That color I love it. So no additional layers were added. I just washed it out, dried it, folded it up, and I am so enjoying knitting on it. This pattern, I think it works really well with these deep jewel toned. Usually I would choose a much lighter yarn for a pattern like this to make sure that all of the structure on the texture on the sleeve is going to show. I would use a much lighter yarn, but I really love the deep jewel tones for this pattern. So I am very excited to be wearing this one. It is so pretty. I'm not sure that I have enough yarn. I could not find the extra ball. I know that I must have had an extra ball because, as I said, I only had the body and the sleeve, and I don't remember running out of yarn. I remember running out of love for the project, but not running out of yarn. So I wasn't sure that I was going to have enough yarn. But I decided to go with it anyway because it's so pretty. So what I did is during the knit-a-thon, I knit the yoke. For the closing ceremony, I was on the round where I was splitting for body and sleeves. I wish I had just been able to finish that round because it's just much easier to show a project once you have separated for the sleeves. But I wasn't, and that's how that was. I then proceeded to knit 2 centimeters for the body and weigh how much yarn did I use to do that. So I just weighed my yarn ball before and after knitting the 2 centimeters. Then I picked up the stitches for the sleeve and again weighed my yarn ball, knit 2 centimeters and weighed it again. Now I knew how much yarn I needed for 2 centimeters of the sleeve up here. There was no pattern, there was no wrapped stitches or bubbles on the section that I knit. So I thought, okay, that's gonna give me a pretty accurate picture of what I'm gonna need for every 2 centimeters on average going down the sleeve. So I did some math to find out that I was probably not gonna have enough. I was probably gonna run out of yarn. Yeah, so there's that. I decided to finish the sleeves first and then knit the body as long as I was able to. I did knit the sleeve just a little bit shorter than the instructions in the pattern tells you to, because I feel like this is a yarn that is going to grow a ton lengthwise. It is smooth to the point where it's almost slippery, so I am pretty sure that it's gonna grow like a beast. So I knit it just a little bit shorter, and I think I'm gonna thank myself for that. And I also think that, of course, that is gonna save me just a little bit of yarn. My plan was to continue with sleeve number 2, and you can see I do have it going here. But on Tuesday was a difficult day for me. I'm going to talk more about that at the end of the video, but I needed something really simple, mindless, just stockinette stitch in the round. I was not able to do any thinking whatsoever. So I actually started knitting on the body. I did that and I didn't get far, just a couple of more centimeters, but it was nice to have a soothing, calming, easy knit on a difficult day. And then I went back to pick up the sleeve stitches for the other sleeve. I am gonna finish this sleeve before I pick up the body again, because when I have both sleeves done, then I can just knit away on the body and get it to where I can get it. I am contemplating decreasing a couple of stitches on the body. As you can see, I have plenty of positive ease. So maybe I am going to work just a couple of increases on the sides. Again, to make sure that I'm not going to run out of yarn. But yeah, I am really enjoying this project. This is definitely a yarn that will do well with a good blocking, for sure. It's not the kind of yarn that just looks pretty right away. It's gonna need a good blocking, but I'll get to that at some point. I know I have some navy blue yarn. It's a yak and silk blend, and it is a navy blue hand-dyed yarn in a tone very similar to this. It's the same color story that they're telling, the two yarns. So I actually think I'm gonna go back and pick up the stitches here on the neckline and knit with the blue so that I can get a folded over neckline with blue on the inside and green on the outside. I think that would look really, really pretty. So lots of good knitting to be had on this one, and yeah, I'm really excited to wear it, but I'm actually also excited to work on it. I love working these sleeves. In general, I don't mind sleeve knitting. I've never found myself on Sleeve Island. I think sleeves are fun to knit. I don't like knitting magic loops. I always use small circulars. What I have done here for this sleeve, I have taken the cord. I don't know if I'm able to show that. Let me just unravel here. I have taken the cords for my from my Chaugu shorty set, and then I have added 4-inch wooden Chaugu needles, because it's harder to work with the very short needles for my hands. So as long as I'm able to, I am gonna continue on these shorter needles. Also, I do prefer wooden needles when I'm working with a yarn as soft and slippery, soft and smooth. Slippery doesn't sound nice. As soft and smooth as this one. So for this sleeve, it was only the very, very last part of the sleeve that I had to change to the shorties. So this is gonna work out beautifully. And I love working the cables. They're so easy. They're not like real cables. They're just stitches that change places. I love the wrapped stitches. I even enjoy the bubbles because they just give so much to the knit. I am gonna send you back in time again, because this week I decided to go ahead and block my amaryllis, which is an upcoming design of mine. For the last 3 years, I have designed advent sweaters where you can use up a yarny advent or a whole bunch of scraps. And I have really been enjoying both designing them, figuring out how can I get something that I would really like to wear out of an advent calendar, because they can be tricky, and very often I see people using them for blankets or shawls. I think it's a very expensive blanket if you use an advent. Of course it's luxurious, and I have done it 2 times. I have done just that. But somehow I started feeling like, no, I would like something that I can wear, something that is actually a wearable piece, not too scrappy, because as returning viewers know, I love scrappy, but I needed to be under control. So I have designed these patterns, and again, this year I have designed a sweater pattern and it needed blocking. And I was going through in my mind the considerations for this particular piece, because I don't block all of my knits the same way. And I thought, oh wow, maybe someone else wants to listen to my considerations. So I did go ahead and record while I was blocking. I am gonna block my Advent sweater now. I am gonna block it inside out because I'm not ready to reveal the design just yet. But I wanted to bring you with me for this process. When I'm blocking, there are always things to take into consideration. I need to think about mainly the yarn, the colors, and also what I want to achieve from the blocking process. For this one, the yarn is an untreated rustic wool. It is Raumafinul. I am using a lot of different colors. Obviously, it's an Advent sweater created to work with an Advent calendar. And what I want to achieve is just to get the wool to blossom. I'm not going to mess with the sizing. I am going to pin the ribbings on the sleeve and the body just to make sure that they don't cinch in too much. I have made that possible with the way the pattern is written, so it shouldn't be a problem. Because it is a rustic wool, I would often choose to go super hot on the water, using the warmest water that I could get. But because of the many colors, I'm not going to do that. Even with commercial yarns, you do have a risk of colors bleeding when you soak your sweater for the first time. And that risk is higher if the water is warmer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with cold, not icy cold, but cold water, some wool soap, some no rinse wool soap, and then I'm actually also going to add a color catcher just to make sure. Maybe you can see here all of my ends hanging here. Everything has either been woven in or knitted over, but I haven't snipped the ends. I don't do that until after the blocking is done and the sweater is dry again. So I'm going to prepare a cold-ish bath for my sweater with some no rinse wool soap and a color catcher. And I am going to allow the sweater to soak in that bath for at least 1 to 2 hours to make sure that all of the fibers are soaked through and that they get the best chance of blossoming. Now we have the sweater soaking with the color catcher in there and the wool soap. And as I said, I'm going to step away from it. I'm going to leave it completely alone for at least 1 to 2 hours. Bath time is over. What I'm going to do now is I am going to drain the water without handling the sweater. I'll start by taking away the collar catcher, and I could probably have saved myself putting it in there, but now I'm just going to drain the water without touching the sweater. Now the water is all out, and I'm now going to just squeeze the sweater against the sides of the sink. I'm not going to wring it. I'm not going to lift it. I'm going to handle it as little as possible. Because if you think about it, when we knit, we basically wrap a string of yarn around itself. The integrity of the knitted fabric is compromised when the fabric is wet. So we want to handle it as little as possible. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to try to place the sweater in a pile where I can use both hands to carefully scoop it up, place it on an old towel, wrap it in the towel and stomp on it to get as much excess water out as I can. Now that my sweater is in this neat little package, it is easy to transfer it onto the blocking mats. And if you don't have blocking mats, I would recommend blocking your sweaters on either a clean tile floor or on a big piece of plastic, like a big plastic bag. If you block it on towels, the towels are going to soak up moisture, hold on to it so that your sweater will stay wet for a longer time. My blocking mats are actually not blocking mats, they're play mats for children. Much less expensive, and even though I love my sweaters, I think they're gonna be fine on a play mat rather than a block. The sweater is blocking now. I'm not gonna show the whole thing just yet, but I wanted to show you how I placed just a couple of T-pins on either side of the ribbing, just to pull it out, spread it out a little bit so it doesn't cinch in too much. Now, all there's left to do is wait for the thing to dry, and I am kind of excited for the first post-blocking try-on. I just realized that I jumped headfirst into this episode without ever telling you what I am wearing today. I am wearing one of my own designs. It is called Small Stars. It was one of the testers that named it. She named it after the little crossed over stitches. So you have these lice. I don't know if you call it that in English, but we call it that in Danish. You have these little lice, and they are not just color work, they're also little crossed over stitches. So they look like little stars running over the body and the sleeves of this sweater. I love wearing it. I don't know why I haven't worn it for so long. It's probably because it is in need of a good deep pill, probably also a wash. Maybe I should tend to it after I'm finished recording. But yeah, it is a very basic round yoke, Nordic, Scandinavian inspired colorwork sweater. It just has a lovely fit. I like the colorwork on this one. I also like that you don't have a section of just main color in the neck where you have the short rows. You're working the short rows in pattern. So I think maybe this was a Christmas Day cast on for me some years ago. I do have a tradition of having a very special Christmas Day cast on. In Denmark, we celebrate Christmas on Christmas Eve. That's when the families will get together. We will share a very traditional meal. We will then light all the candles on the tree, dance around it while singing Christmas carols and psalms. And after that, we will exchange presents. So it's a big to-do. It's a big thing, full of tradition. That also means that come Christmas morning, most Danes are probably going to be overfed, overstimulated, and quite tired. When I was growing up, it was a tradition to go for a Christmas lunch on Christmas Day. when Peter and I had our oldest son, we decided, we're not doing that. We are staying home. We are catching up on sleep. We are catching up on Christmas movies. And we're going to enjoy reading the books that we just got, casting on with some of the yarn that we got. Yeah, we've done that ever since, and I see a lot of people doing the exact same thing. So in Denmark, Christmas Day is very often a day of relaxation. And for many, many years, I have prepared a very special project to cast on that day. I will start thinking about it around now. In October, I will start thinking about, oh, what should be my Christmas Day cast on? If I see a particularly pretty pattern, I will make a mental note of it. And yeah, as we move through November, maybe even into December, I will start getting the project back that I want to use. Getting the pattern. I don't usually print out my patterns. I don't even remember when I last printed out a pattern, but I will make sure that it's easily available on my computer and on my phone. Then I will find the yarn. I will wind it up. I will find the needles, make sure that I have everything, notions, everything ready to go on my couch. So come Christmas morning, I can open the project bag and just dive in. And I am pretty sure that this one was a result of a Christmas Day cast on. As I'm sitting here talking about that, I'm like, what should my Christmas Day cast on be this year? To be determined. Anyway, that was it for the creative content this week. For life in general, it's been a full week and it's been a little bit of a roller coaster. So first we had the Knitathon, which was, on Saturday evening during the Knitathon, we actually jumped into the car and drove down to our cabin. We had plans to go there the week before the Knitathon, stay there during the whole thing, but I wasn't feeling well. I had fever and I was not well. So we stayed home. But then when Peter came home from a birthday party early Saturday night, we were like, should we just go now? And we decided to do just that. So he was kind enough to drive the car so that I could just be knitting away and watching all of the wonderful YouTubers entertaining us. On Sunday, I was all knit out, and I think I told you already. So I was just playing around with my pillow, having a lot of fun. We also went for a walk. We couldn't get down to the water as we usually would because everything was flooded. There was kind of a storm there on Saturday, so we were not able to get to the water, but we were just walking around closer to the house. We saw a beautiful deer. Like, his antlers were huge. And yeah, so kind of him to show up. Monday, we just relaxed in the cabin, doing much of the same that we did Sunday, except for the Knitathon part. And then Tuesday, that was the anniversary of my mom's passing. And that was a difficult day. And I was not surprised that it was difficult. I mean, these special days, they're probably going to be difficult for a while. But we met up with my youngest son, my brother, and my mom's sister and their families. We all met up at her grave. We sang a little song for her. It's a song that she really loved. We also sang it at her funeral. It's a very old Danish song that during World War II, it became like a symbol of the resistance. And Mom's dad was in the resistance. So for her, that song was very special. It was about being brave and having integrity, standing up for what you believe is right. It was also a song that gave her courage. My mom was so afraid of the dark. It was terrible. She never passed this fear on to me or my brother. She was being very quiet about it. But yeah, later in life, we learned that she was so scared of darkness. And she would tell us how when she was a little girl and she was running home to have dinner from her friend's house and back to her house, she was running on the dark pathways. And she was singing this song as loud as she could to give herself the power to force herself through the darkness. One of the verses of the song goes something like, don't be scared of the power of darkness. The stars will shine their light. And we are going into the darker time of year here in Denmark, so it just felt very appropriate to sing that song for her. Afterwards, we gathered for a meal back here, and it was really nice to sit and flip through some of her old photo albums and share our memories and have some good laughs about all the wonderful memories that we have. On Wednesday, it was my best friend's birthday. She lives right here on the farm, so we had every opportunity to celebrate her, and that was just a really nice day and a nice way of moving out of the lingering sadness and into a celebration. And that leads us to Thursday, where I am sitting here recording, and looking back on that week, I can see why I'm a little bit and actually just want to spend this day relaxing, knitting and enjoying myself. And that's exactly the plan. I hope that you had a great week too. I hope next week will treat you well. And I hope that you have something wonderful to work on. Until I see you again, which will be when I'm in Texas. Stay happy, stay safe, and keep knitting.